Dhani watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Dhani and John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Watching My Stories. I'm Dhani.
And I'm John.
And we're back for a week later.
Yes, here we are.
We had fun last time.
We did. It was a good podcast. I thought. other than the poor enunciation.
Yeah. Okay, so we don't have much to talk about this week, but then we will be talking about Brad Pitt in our Actors Corner. So
yes.
Stick around for that.
Yes.
All right. So the only new movie I'm going to talk about is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Ah, yes.
I'm giving it 4 stars, but that was my first reaction right after seeing it, and I'm not sure that it sticks.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
So we'll see. Anyway, everyone knows it stars Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, and Margot Robbie's in there, and then a bunch of little appearances by, good people here and there.
Yeah, okay.
It's set in the 70s in Hollywood. He was like a 60s Western TV star. And now at this point, he's having to do like guest actor bits on shows, like they always used to do.
Sure, where they show up on, Love Boat and Barney Miller. And
All those would have a guest actor every week.
Yeah.
And Brad Pitt was his stuntman, and now he's his driver because Leo's character got too many DUIs and can't drive himself anymore.
Interesting. No, not the drunk driving part. The Brad Pitt being his stuntman.
Yeah.
Because you think about, at least for me, you think about Leo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, and they're so dissimilar. But I suppose if they're about the same height and same basic build, I guess you could sell it that way. Yeah. Never thought about it. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and Brad's really great in that aspect. He has a scene with a guy who's playing Bruce Lee, which is a great scene, and they fight. And it's a great fight. It's a great choreographed fight. Loved watching Brad do that. And then at the end, there's a whole nother fight where a bunch of people are killed, and Brad it's just great choreography that he does.
I think he's actually underrated as far as versatility goes. He's a very versatile actor.
Yeah. I think people know that. I don't think it's an underrated thing. Oh,
I never hear it talked about that. Well, well, that's just it. But I think most people say, ooh, Brad Pitt, like based on his aesthetics. Right?
Oh, that was part of what I loved about the movie was watching him again, and he's gotten older, and it works on him really well, and just this California type style that he was doing in the movie, it was just perfect.
25 years from now, he's gonna be Robert Redford.
Yeah,
right.
Hopefully.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah. So So I'm just going to say, basically, I really loved the beginning, meaning like the first 2 hours, 15 minutes or so.
It is a Tarantino film.
And then I'm not sure about the ending. I've got mixed feelings, not for what he did, and I'm not going to spoil it. Not for the story. He changes history again like he did in Inglourious Bastards. And it's not that I don't think I like that. It's that I'm not sure what the point of the rest of the movie was. So it was like, at first I was like, oh, that was great. That's why I did the 4 stars. This whole week since I saw it, I've been like, was the whole point of the movie really just to get to that 20 minutes? Because I was so into it. And then I feel like, did you fool me into, playing along type thing? So anyway, aside from these two, Margot Robbie plays Sharon Tate. So we follow her around, and we do see her with Roman Polanski and learn their whole story. We do run into the Manson family living on Spahn Ranch, which they actually did do. We don't see Charlie Manson, but the girls that were surrounding him. There's a bunch of different stuff going on. It's I really liked it. I just need to see it again.
See, to me, that's kind of the beauty of movies. You never know until it's over how you're really going to feel about it, because some of them, it really is about the journey, and the destination at the end, is what it is. Some of them, it's purely about the destination, and it makes you look back on the journey and think about it. You know, what did it mean? Why did it happen? What was that? And I think that's the case here.
Yeah, I think when I watch it again, it'll be, am I as intrigued as I was the first time? Or am I just kind of like, well, what's the point of this? When I know what the ending, what we're getting to, you know? So I think that's what I need to just rediscover. I definitely, sorry. This is not, out of the 9 movies that Tarantino has done, I'd say this is probably 6th or 7th in the rank, maybe as of right now. Because there are just others that I just love. So I'm not sure. It's somewhere there in the middle. Yeah.
So how much of your 4 stars for the first 2.5 hours was the movie, or was it just being able to see Leo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt?
Well,
together?
It's a huge part of it, because they both are really good in this. They're both so good. And it was really enjoyable to watch Brad. Leo, he's just so good in everything. Like I'm, you know, I forget until I see him again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's one of those people where you see in normal life or whatever, he's so kind of withdrawn and
he's not in the news very much when he's not doing a movie.
Right.
Or a movie of his isn't coming out.
He's very serious, and then all of a sudden he just kind of explodes and he becomes these animated characters, and you're just like, yeah, that's freaking awesome. So, and there's one scene of his where he's just amazing. And again, it takes me back to a scene that he does in Django where he just, you know,
he just owns the screen.
Yeah. And I thought he deserved the Oscar for Django. But he really deserved it for Revolutionary Road, one of my favorite movies.
Sure. Yeah.
So they're both fantastic. Everyone's fantastic in it. I mean, again, it's one of those where you're just elevated the whole time you're watching, because everything is heightened and everything is so, there's so much to look at, and he's taken you to classic restaurants in Hollywood and classic, you know, locations that they're at. And so you're just, there's always so much to look at and check out. And so again, I think when I watch it the second time, seeing little things might help to be sure that I really did like it as much as I did.
Yeah. Well, probably from having the two of them and then Margot Robbie, who's really, really good. Yeah. Right. Probably from an actor perspective, about the only better thing he could have done was somehow work Cate Blanchett in there. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's only the 3 of them, but that's kind of like a who's who.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so that was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think what I would say to people is that if you're a Tarantino fan, see it. I don't think I would recommend people who don't get his stuff. It's not very bloody. It's not very gory. You know, it's not a lot of that. It's just.
Oh, see, I might like it then. I'm sure. You know, let me back up. I'm sure I will like it then. I didn't want to go with you to this because, you know, I didn't want to spend 4 hours that way.
It's not 4 hours long.
I know, but you know, I'm exaggerating. But one of the things that turns me off is his overuse of gore sometimes, right? And I think it's gratuitous.
I always find it comical. I've never found his stuff gratuitous. I've always found it comical. I mean, it's always in a way that makes me chuckle. And in this, there is some violence, but again, and maybe you shouldn't take my word for it, but it's not throughout the whole movie. It's really saved up for the end, and it's fantastic, and you know, people were cheering and clapping, and you know, so
right,
yeah, it just depends. So
well, I'll see it. I'm sure I'll like it.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, I just wanted to talk about the fact that Avengers Endgame came out on digital release this week. So I've only gotten to watch it twice so far in the last 4 days.
It's been out 4 days and you've seen it twice? Yeah, you're a little bit behind.
And the thing is, you know, I really was interested because if people listened to the show when we first saw it, I was an absolute mess. I cried throughout the entire movie when we were watching it in the theater. I was crying talking about it here on the podcast.
You were.
And so I was kind of like, okay, what's it going to be like watching it again? And honestly, the first time I watched it, I was able to get almost to the end without crying, which was good. I thought I made it.
That's an improvement.
Pretty good, pretty well. But it holds up. It's just so good, and it's and after seeing Spider-Man and things, I think that, like I said last week, that helps with the mourning process, and I think that really has helped to be able to watch this again and kind of know.
You've already recovered some from this the first time, that you can now watch it and not be as devastated.
Exactly. Okay. So I just wanted to put it out there. Obviously, if there's anyone in the world who hasn't seen it yet, it's out there. You can buy it, and there's a bunch of extra scenes which I haven't gotten to. There's a few hours of extra footage or extra bonus features that I haven't gotten to yet.
I'm going to go on a limb and I'm going to say nobody listening to this has not seen it.
I would think so, but you never know.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, now we're going to switch over to television.
Woo!
So Orange is the New Black ended, or their last season came out last weekend. So I watched that, and it is over. I just wanted to acknowledge it, and they did an amazing job all these seasons. I mean, I don't know that there's ever been another show that's been able to introduce, I think it's at least 28 characters. Now, like Lost had a bunch of characters for sure, not that many. And it's hard, you know what I mean? Like that's a very hard thing to juggle as a viewer. I never felt like I was overwhelmed. I think Game of Thrones actually has like that many. I could be making that up, but I think from what I've heard, they have, like, people get confused by all the people in Game of Thrones.
Whatever.
So,
not a huge fan.
Anyway, so what I loved was these last 3 seasons of the show have been the best. Danielle Brooks has given the best performance out of everyone on that show for the last 3 seasons. I really, really, really want her to get acknowledged in some way. This last season was very depressing. I was very depressed, but that's what they wanted to have happen. There was a lot of turmoil going on with these women. If you don't know, it's about women in prison. But also this year, the same company that owns the prison opened up an ICE detention center. And so some of our women actually who thought they were getting out of prison were escorted out of prison and directly into the detention center, which was devastating. So we actually saw some of our favorite characters put on a plane and taken home to a place that they had actually never been, or, you know, born there, but never been. So it was a very, it was very difficult because of the state of things in the real world to be watching something like this and to see and look, the conditions in these detention centers on the show were far better than things we've heard about in the news. So it was a very tough season to get through, but I'll tell you what, the last episode or 2, they really brought it all together, which again, I thought I didn't even know I wanted it. But some people got moved to other prisons, and in those prisons were other people that we hadn't seen in a couple seasons. And so out of all these characters, all of a sudden, they're doing a montage and showing us people and then letting us know what's going on with them. And I was a blubbering idiot because I was just like, oh yeah, her. Like, and they were bringing back all these women. And so Samira, why did I just blank on her name? Wiley from she's on Handmaid's Tale now. She was on Orange is the New Black. She played Pussy Washington. And she was killed by a guard who kneed her in the back and she couldn't breathe.
Oh, I think I remember.
Yeah. It was devastating. Yeah. And that's what came into these last 3 seasons, was there was a riot and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, they brought her back even for a little flashback, and the creators of the show have actually started the Pussy Washington Fund because on the show they were starting this thing where, women get out of prison and it's very difficult to get a job because you can't work anywhere where there's alcohol. You can't work anywhere where there are other ex-cons. You can't work, certain hours and certain things because you have to be home by 11. So you can't work a night shift at a restaurant or in a restaurant that doesn't serve alcohol if you can find one, so it's very difficult. for
Jesus.
people who get out of prison to have money. So they've started this basically microloan process where you can give to this fund in this character's name, which is wonderful. This really exists, and you can give money and it goes to these women. They will pay it back whenever they can, but it's this revolving loan so that then the next people who come out of prison can get money and they eventually, it will replenish itself as it gets going. So that was also a really lovely kind of ending to the thing, was to see her on screen again, as well as, know that this is existing and that women could start to get help. It's really tough. I mean, and that was what a lot of this season also focused on, was when some of these women got out of prison and how difficult it is to do anything.
Yeah, that's awesome that the creators were able to kind of pay it forward.
Yeah.
/ outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carry over something from fiction
right
into real life. That's a very noble cause. I mean, we gloss over it every day, right? You see crime and stuff.
Right.
And it's easy to think about the victims or whatever. And I don't want to say that people in prison aren't victims. A lot of them are, of something that's caused them to be there. But it's such a not talked about thing. I mean, you hear about prison reform as a whole, but then you think about the details, the case by case, the person by person. And it's just so tough.
It is
so
tough.
Anything that can help these people, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
It's great.
It really is. So that's out there. It was a great last episode. Like I said, just crying through it all, seeing everyone. Some people had good outcomes and some do not, which is to be expected.
That's life.
And keeping that, because I kept thinking, are they going to just kind of tie everything up with a bow? And you can't with this. And that's kind of what's always been good about the show, is that there's so many different women represented on this show. And again, when we always found out what their crimes were, and it was always about needing money for their families, or not always. I mean, there were some chicks who were, just committing credit card fraud because they just wanted to go shopping and stuff. But, a lot of it was about their families or their circumstances, or a man put them in trouble because they were doing drugs stuff for their men or whatever, or women. So it was a lovely show, and it's a really hard show to watch. And I would definitely recommend anyone to go and watch it. It's a long, I think each season had 13 episodes. There were 7 or 8 seasons, and the hours of the episodes are long. They don't go by quickly. So if you go back to watch it, just know that, because there's so much information coming at you, and a lot of times it's very deep. And so it feels like a longer hour sometimes. Yeah. But it is a great show. Every person on that show delivered. They're all so good. It was really nice to see all kinds of different women on a show. I mean, even at the last episode, I'm watching it going, I'm so glad I got to see all of this, and run by a woman and all of that. So
good.
Yeah. And it's sad that it's over, but it's time. It was a good time to be over.
Good.
So, yeah.
So, just real quick, is there a website or something for that fund?
Probably.
Okay. So
I will look it up and put it on our website.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So that's Pussy, Washington?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
I
Okay.
see giggles.
I'm over it. I'm done.
The next thing I watched was Whitney Cummings' latest stand-up on Netflix. And Orange is the New Black is on Netflix as well. Called Can I Touch It? So this is her latest stand-up, and I love Whitney Cummings. I think she's very clever. I think she's really smart. This one focused mainly on all of the sexual harassment stuff that's been going on the last year or two. Really funny insight, just like talking about all of her guy friends and like, so you mean I can't even give a hug to women at work anymore?
Sure.
She's like, no, you never could.
Well, and I'm sure a lot of her guy friends are comedians.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Which it's a different, it's a
different workplace.
Well, it's a different perspective.
Well, and it's what I love about her is that, and I'm certain that this is probably what other people love about her that actually know her, is that I think she can sit there surrounded by men and be just as down with whatever it is they're talking about. But then you also...
Sorry, studio dog is going nuts for some reason.
But then I think she also still is always like, but I'm the boss and I can, hold court and I'm in charge and, that sort of stuff.
Sure.
So it's
well,
like,
she's in that position.
Yeah. So I think it's always fun to watch her point of view. And as I was watching, I was like, gosh, why have I not been watching that movie she put out? Remember that movie, Brain, Left Brain, or whatever it was? It was such a great movie.
It was a really good movie.
And I'm like, I gotta find it. I'm sure it's on Netflix somewhere. Anyway, so she goes through the whole harassment thing in very funny ways, ins and outs, and then she starts talking about sex robots. And she went to a sex robot factory, and she starts telling everything that she found out about it and all that. And then she actually rolls out a sex robot that they made in her just to look like her. And it's hysterical, and she just it's just great. It's a great whole little thing. And then through the credits, they actually show behind the scenes of her getting all the molds made so that they can make.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah. And so now on Instagram she's just been posting like her sex robot in the car passenger seat, and they're just driving and all that sort of stuff, and it's really creepy.
Okay, so don't take this the wrong way. We're happily married, but is it for sale?
No.
Okay.
No. Her fiance does not like it though, because it's creepy, and it has a robot voice, so it's like, and it just stares and blinks, and it's creepy.
But it's lifelike.
No, it's a robot.
Oh, okay.
You can tell it's a robot.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, it's funny. It's obviously R-rated, but it's funny. And if you like Whitney Cummings, if you like her humor, then you'll like it. I mean, it's worth checking out.
Well, I do like Whitney Cummings.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that's that.
Okay.
Okay. Then I just wanted to move on to a couple shows that ended.
Okay.
iZombie is the first one. It's on the CW.
Mm-hmm.
They just had their final episode. This show has just been fun. Like I don't think I've ever talked about it before, because it's not like it's a...
You've mentioned it a handful of times, but not very in depth, just kind of in passing that it's different, but it's great.
It was I believe it was based on a comic book. And the point of this was that, the main girl, her name is Liv Moore. She gets scratched at a party, and so she turns into a zombie. But these zombies aren't, they can function unless they get really, really hungry. So if they don't have brains for a while, then their eyes turn red and they will attack people. Otherwise, as long as they're just given brains, then they're just normal people. They just happen to have white hair.
So it's like the ultimate Snickers commercial.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not you when you're hungry.
Right. So the other twist is, if you eat a brain, you will have visions from the dead person that you're eating. So the main character, Liv Moore, she decides in the beginning to go, and she was in medical school, so she decided to go work in the medical examiner's office, so that all these dead brains would come through and she could have them. And here's the fun part of the show. Every episode, there's a new character. So she works with the police to help solve the murders that come in, because she eats the brains and she gets visions. So she can really usually see last moments or things that happened for these people, and then they start to solve the mystery of who killed them.
They're already dead, so...
But here's the thing. She also takes on the personality of the person. So every week, they show her cooking the brains, and they're cooked in a different way, in a way that goes with the personality of the person. And this actress, I need to look her up. She's been in a few other things, and she's great in everything she does. But in this show, I think it's been widely overlooked. Every week, she plays a different character because she takes on a different persona. So she might be, like a social media fiend, like, or then she might be a Southern belle of this, or she might be some hippie chick, or she might be, it's different. And this has been 5 seasons, I think 4 or 5, I don't even know. But every week she puts on a full persona. She'll usually change her makeup, her hair, all that sort of thing. And she's so good at it. And it's just always been overlooked.
So she's kind of like the Tatiana Maslany for horror comedy.
Yeah, because she's also really funny. So it was just a different take on the whole zombie thing. Eventually, through these seasons, what happened was the zombies started to get more and more prevalent. There started to be a war between trying to keep the zombies from humans. This was all taking place in Seattle. A wall was built around Seattle eventually. So anyway, this whole season has been about this war kind of coming to a head, and she, with her friends, trying to find a cure and all that sort of stuff. So it ended this week. It felt a little bit like an abrupt ending, almost like they kind of were just, it felt very abrupt.
So is this the final season?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's over now. So, so they did end it. It ended in a fine way. It just felt like there was no taper down to it. It was definitely like, oh, this is going to be our last season. Okay, then let's end it right here, and then let's come up with the last 10 minutes. You know, like it was that sort of thing. Like maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't know.
So
that
after
it was gonna
58 minutes, somebody went, "Oh shoot, we gotta wrap this up."
Right.
Yeah,
but it was still lovely, and it was always a show. Like she was engaged in the beginning. Her fiance was great, and they broke up. It was always a show about this group of friends, though. You know, kind of like the Buffy thing, where she might have been special, but all these friends helped in a way of with the story. And eventually, she became this kind of in this war. She became known as Renegade because she would try and like people who were terminally ill wanted to come into Seattle because if they got scratched, they would be cured and they'd live forever as the zombie. So she started to help people doing that. So anyway, it was a very interesting show. It's fun. It's one of those where I never felt like I had to watch every episode. I did, but it's like I would let a few get behind and then I'd go back and just put them on, and you know, and it's not like it wasn't like I missed it all the time. But it's still enjoyable and it was really well done. So I think like, I mean, I'm sure people a lot younger than me like it a lot more like than people my age are watching it, but it's really good. Anyway, so I just wanted to touch on that because it's over and she's great, and whatever she goes and does will be, I will watch her in anything.
So if you're a millennial and you like zombie shows, you love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's a fun show. There's nothing really brainy about it. You know what I mean?
Oh. Really?
Oh, I didn't even mean that.
I guess that's well played.
Okay, the next show I just want to talk about is Jane the Virgin. It ended this week, and I'm very sad about it.
You were.
I'm going to try not to cry, which is just very silly. But here's what I want to say about Jane the Virgin. Go watch it. It is worth going back and watching it if you never watched it. It is one of the most feel-good shows I've probably ever watched. I don't think I'll probably think of something later, but as far as a show that makes me happy every time I watch it, it's Jane the Virgin. And not that they didn't have down times, but it was just this lovely, lovely show about family, and not always family and how you think it'll be. But so the premise is, in the beginning, Jane's a virgin. She's in her 20s. She gets accidentally artificially inseminated and is pregnant. The show obviously had 3 Latina leads. The show is very heavily based off of telenovelas, but not exactly like them. It was almost like they would... it was a real show, just like any show we would watch, but then it would have the telenovela twists almost every episode, which was just so much fun. As well as it had this little bit of like Ally McBeal stuff to it, where, you know, where they would be watching and like their tongues would drag out to the floor, or their eyes would bug out, or, you know what I mean? Like Ally always saw those little magical moments.
Sure.
Okay, sorry about that, you guys. We've been having some deliveries, so Roxy's been going a little crazy.
The studio dog's out of control.
Yeah. So, as I was saying, what they call it, they call it magical realism. So Jane will see things like when she falls in love, her heart glows. When she'll like a statue will talk to her, you know, like her stuffed animal will talk to her, things like that just make it a little fun. And again, lovely. Like,
minor doses of broken reality.
Yeah. And it's just, but it's perfect. It never pulls you out. You never feel like it's stupid or, you know, you're pulled out of reality. You're still fully grounded in it. And even all the weird things that happen, like the telenovela stuff where, a twin sister appears or, you know, someone is back from the dead or something. None of that ever matters because the rest of the story is always so real. And with Jane and her mother and her grandmother and her father, and she falls in love, and you know, there's 2 love interests in the show. One that she's with in the beginning, Michael, and then she's inseminated with Raphael's egg base, or not his egg but his fertilized egg. So then there's a relationship there, and so there's very distinct Team Michael or Team Raphael teams on this show. I am Team Raphael. I have been since the beginning, and they end up together, so I win. But
good call on you.
But it's one of those that is just, you know, it's very female centric because the leads are all these women. They all have extreme, you know, real life issues, with love, with work, with men. Her grandmother was not a citizen, so then her grandmother goes through to get her green card, which was just a beautiful, beautiful thing. Talking about not being scared anymore. I mean, she lived in this country for 40 years being scared, and, you know, it's just, it was amazing. And just, you know, pursuing passions, and it always made me happy. It's a great, happy show. And this last episode, I was bawling through the whole thing.
You were.
You can just tell they all love each other. And that's also one of those things where, you know, you watch a show and you just wonder, do they hang out afterwards? Like, you could just tell all of these people had really built a family. And it's just a great show. So this one is one that I will always tell people, go back and watch it, because it's fun and it's real and it's dramatic in a way that isn't real. You know what I mean? Like, it's nice to have where it's not like This Is Us. It's not like real drama, even though it is. Like, her mom gets breast cancer, which that was devastating, and they did that so well. Or when Jane's husband dies, the way they handled the mourning period was amazing. And you know, it's real, but it's still there's an optimism to every single episode.
I was just gonna say that you can do realism 2 ways. You can do it like real, like down in the muck,
right?
Like life is sometimes, or you can always end it on a positive note, right, on the upswing. And it sounds like that's what this is. And that's my kind of show. I mean, real life, you watch television to end on the upswings, right? Because you go through your day to get to the television. You go through your day a lot of times on the downswings, you know, the real reality. And it's
you
like,
come home and you watch the news and you're like, that's how I'm ending my day.
And me personally, I don't want to watch more of that in a TV show. I'll save that hour and do something else. Right. So full disclosure, this show, talking about this show earlier in the week after the episode, was kind of a source of contention.
Yes, because I was begging him to watch it.
And I was fighting it off because of what I was just saying. You know, anything that's, I call it based on interpersonal relationships a lot of times. And I think it just clicked with me. That's why I don't want to give a lot of these shows, why I don't want to try it.
Right, because it's down.
Yeah, and that's not me. That's not what I like to watch. So I think I'm evolving on Jane the Virgin. So
I really want him to watch it, because I do think it's because it's, first of all, it can be described as a romantic comedy, which you love. It's the characters are fun, and then there's weird twists, and then there's it's just great. And I just, like I said, I want everyone to go back and rewatch it. And honestly, why am I blanking on her name? The lead.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on it.
I can't help because all I can think of is America Ferrera.
No.
I know. I can't help.
She's been in a couple other movies that I watched. Well, she was in Annihilation. She wasn't a big part of that, but she was great in that. And then there was this other Netflix movie that I watched that I told you guys about.
Oh,
and
yeah, her and Brittany Snow, right?
Yes,
where she was the actual lead.
Yes. So she is, and in this show especially, Gina Rodriguez. In this show especially, she's carried this show. I mean, all of these years. I mean, everyone else is just as important, but she is Jane the Virgin. There's one other thing I want to talk about. But Gina Rodriguez is so good in everything she does. I can't wait to see what happens next. She's directed some of these episodes. That movie that I told you about, oh my God, she was so good. And in this show, she can go from smiling into tears, into laughter. Like, she's light and wonderful, and it's got to be really hard to be Jane, because Jane is kind of this almost perfect character. Like, again, I was thinking this during the last episode, Jane is one of those people that I think I would aspire to be. She always wants to do the right thing. She's also very organized and has her lists and all of that because she's afraid of doing the wrong thing. But yet she also follows her heart when her heart wants to take her somewhere. So she's just a wonderful character, but it also has to feel like a little bit like Kristen Bell, where you have to play that all the time. Kind of probably gets to you a little bit. Yeah. Well, she even says, Kristen Bell has said, I'm not bubbly all the time. Actually, 2 days ago, she came out and she was like, I'm dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety right now, and I wanted to let you guys know it. So
no.
Yeah.
Poor Kristen Bell. No,
but that's okay. She's a human being. She's allowed to be sad every once in a while.
We should have laws in this country that says Kristen Bell should never have to go through anything like that.
No, see, that's not fair. That's not fair to her.
I know.
So anyway, Gina Rodriguez, wonderful. The other wonderful thing about the show that I'm leaving out is there is a narrator. The narrator is one of the best parts of this show.
I've heard that guy. He
has the best voice, number one. But number two, he is us. He is taking... So, like, someone will be searching through stuff, and the narrator will be like, hurry up, Petra, move through that, get through it. What is taking you so long? And it's like, what I'm thinking as I'm watching it, the narrator pops in and says it, or he'll be like, oh my gosh, you guys, we can't watch this. We have to go away and we'll come back. Or he'll cry when we're supposed to be crying. And he is us through this process, and he makes it so wonderful. And he's funny. And again, the show is it was a mixture of a bunch of different shows. Of course, people wanted to bring in Ugly Betty because of the Latina factor. But it's nothing like Ugly Betty was, but it's its own thing. I don't think it'll ever be replicated. But it did bring about a lot of, again, diversity on television behind the scenes. Everyone, Rita Moreno was on, and Gloria Estefan was on, and Britney Spears was on, and it's just because they own a hotel, so people would come to the hotel. It's set in Miami. Anyway, it's a lovely, lovely show, and go back, watch it all season. Well, the latest season isn't on Netflix yet, but by the time you get to it, it will be.
Yeah, you might be wearing me down here.
Okay, good.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's that.
So that's
it.
So
for
you've
TV and movies.
So you've told us all your stories for the week.
Oh my goodness. Lame. Yes. So let's get on to the actor's corner.
Fine.
Just as lame.
Fine.
We're going to talk about Brad Pitt, and this was probably one of the more difficult times for me. Yeah, to figure this out.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's just too many. I love almost everything.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. And actually, this is the first time this has really happened. We'll get to it later on. But yeah, I actually had a hard time too. Yeah, he's done so many good things.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Okay, so you'll start. Movies you love.
Movies I love. I got it down to 3, but it could have just as easily been 15.
Yeah.
Right?
I know.
So the 3 I went with were Ocean's 11. That's the original.
Yeah, and I would have to say, out of all the Ocean's characters, I think Rusty is my favorite.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I'm always partial to George Clooney.
I'm not.
right, to Danny Ocean, but
I
yeah,
like Rusty better.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I have that one under Secretly Love. I don't know why, but I can watch that movie every day.
huh.
Love it so much.
Okay.
Well, you put it under You Love. You can't.
I don't know what the secret is.
There is no secret. It just
It's under your secretly love.
because they're all. I had to split them up somehow.
Okay. Well, it's semantics. Let's not. That's not the important part here.
Okay.
And Moneyball.
Yeah. I put Moneyball under Secretly Love too, which kind of makes sense for me because I don't like sports. But
Sports. Go sports.
but I love Moneyball because of the math aspect of it.
Yeah, it's still so it's still Brad Pitt, and Brad Pitt to me is his default is always he's always got that little smirk or that half smile a lot of times, and it makes you think comedic. At least for me anyway. But this is him. It's not a comedy.
No,
it's very much a drama.
Yeah.
And that movie to me kind of really showed his dramatic acting skills.
See, to me, I felt like it was, well, I mean, he's been doing drama since day one, but I felt like it was a very grown up role that was no real costumes, no real, it was of today. There was nothing to hide behind. And he was just kind of this guy who, being a true story, just this guy who needed to be in control of this and figure it out. And he had that presence in that to again, to reach out to someone else and say, hey, help me figure this out. But he was controlled enough to be the manager and figure out how to win.
Yeah. So
it's just to me, it wasn't really him as much for me as the love of that movie as it is. I love that story. I think it's a very interesting story.
Yeah. And kudos to Billy Bean because he really did go through that.
Yeah.
Where he had this radical idea, way different than anybody has ever seen or ever done it before. And it didn't immediately work.
Well, he didn't have a choice. He didn't have the money.
Right. So he really went through some stuff. And he stuck to his guns.
Right.
It's really a story about belief in yourself, belief in what you're doing, and sticking to your guns.
And telling players that he put players in positions that they had never played before. He put players that weren't being told they were the best players, but to him he was saying, "This is what you can do. We have the statistics. We know you can do this." It was. It's all just it's a very interesting story.
Yeah, and to be able to tell a baseball player, look, you're not the best at your position.
Right.
Like, you're number 45 in the league.
Right.
Right? But you're perfect for me in this spot at this time.
Right.
And getting them to really buy into that and
then play as a team.
And perform.
Yeah.
I mean, baseball player, any professional athlete, you get to where you are based on ego. Ego is a huge part of it. You always feel like you're the best.
Okay.
So for them to really actually buy into that, hearing that they're number 45, and still go for it,
right?
That's great.
Just backtracking a little bit. So Ocean's 11, we've had the discussion before. 11 is your favorite out of the three.
Yes.
Okay. Mine is 12. And
I know.
I know. And especially for Brad, 12 is his movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's much more him. Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I would go 11, 13, 12, but 12 is not nearly as far behind in my mind as it used to be because when I first saw it, I actually didn't like it. I did not like it at all. It was too big a departure. It felt like too big a stretch. They were trying to do something way too radical with the story. And it's grown on me to the point of, it's right. It's now right there with 13.
Oh, see, I'm not a huge fan of 13. And back to Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Classic movie.
Oh, yeah.
Love everything about the aesthetic. Love the house. Wish I could own that house. Everything in that house I want. And they're funny. And he has got some funny moments. His reactions to things.
Yes.
Like when he runs into the fence and shoots the windshield.
Yes.
And,
oh, my God, yes.
It's
what does he say?
Oh dear God.
Oh, that's where I got that from. Oh dear God.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so great.
They just have a lot of funny moments in
Yeah.
that, and I just love the movie. So back to that. On to me.
Yes, yours.
Okay,
Sorry.
movies I love. Legends of the Fall, number
Okay.
one has to be. It's absolute classic, dramatic. Him crying, which anytime Brad Pitt cries is the best. He is the best ugly crier in the league. And just a heart-wrenching story and plot, and it's just got it all. It's just one of those old epic classic movies.
I'm going to tell you something that's going to shock you.
I know you haven't seen it. Second, Spy Game.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Robert Redford.
It's like father and son.
Yeah, I mean, they did 3 films together, and this movie, I love the way the story unfolds. I love the twists and turns, and it's a mystery the whole way along, and you don't know what's going on. And Robert Redford is so freaking smart in this movie. It's fantastic, and to watch the two of them together. So, Spy Game is one of my favorite. And this one is, people are going to be like, whatever. The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Yeah.
I love this movie. It's quiet and epic at the same time. His performance, though, Brad Pitt's performance, is so mesmerizing because he's very quiet as Jesse James. He doesn't say a lot. He's intimidating and scary, but also very sad because of his depression. But I thought it was way overlooked, and now with the whole Casey Affleck thing, it's hard for me to still support something he's in.
Did he win the Oscar?
Casey?
Yeah.
Not for this.
Oh,
He
okay.
did for that other By the Sea. What was it
Oh,
called?
okay. That's right.
Yeah.
But Casey got more acclaim for this movie than Brad Pitt did.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was so long ago.
Yeah.
So those are my 3 that I love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Movies you like?
Okay, so I included everything in this because one of my favorite little bits of Brad Pitt is the Friends Thanksgiving
Yes.
episode,
Oh, yeah.
right?
For sure.
Oh my God, that is so good.
Yeah.
Not only for a Thanksgiving episode of television, but just in general.
Yeah.
His character and how he plays it is just,
Oh, yeah.
it's just gold.
Yep.
I mean, it's just awesome. Yeah. Yep. I have Spy Game
Okay.
in here for exactly what you just said. A river runs through it.
Yep. That's mine. That's
Yeah.
on mine. Again, that was Robert Redford directed it.
And again, this is just a small little thing, but his weatherman on the Jim Jeffries show, it's just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the first time we saw that, we didn't know that was even a possibility.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's suddenly Brad Pitt doing weather reports on the Jim Jeffries
Yeah.
show. It's just great.
Yeah.
So that's a 4 that I got that down to.
Okay. So mine, I have River Runs Through It. Robert Redford directing it. Again, beautiful story of this family, and especially of his character that's so damaged and can't pull himself out of it. And the brother who's always trying to, Tom Skerritt. And
Yeah. So who plays his brother? I can never remember that guy's
I can
name.
never remember
Okay.
his name.
Okay.
I
Sorry,
can-
I shouldn't put you on the spot like that.
No,
But-
I've gotten so much worse with names.
I'm okay.
Oh my gosh.
It's just my glasses hitting the floor.
The guy was never, he was in a few things back then, but I haven't seen him in
Yeah, I mean,
Much.
20 years ago, he was solid.
Craig Sheffer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great cast. Shot in Montana, fly fishing, all that. It brings about everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a step below Legends, but definitely the same kind of feels. My next one, Fight Club. I struggled with not putting this on top, but I had to put it somewhere. So it's a classic, an absolute classic. There's nothing wrong to say about the movie, and him and Ed Norton are just, it's perfection.
Yeah, so in searching Brad Pitt this morning for this, that is the one that most people name.
Oh, sure.
That's at the top of most people's list for
Yeah.
Brad Pitt is Fight Club.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well,
And my third, Meet Joe Black. It's I know people hated it when it came out. It was a remake, but people were just saying he was so bad in it. I thought he was great in it playing Death. It devastates me every time I see it. I cry and cry and cry. Anthony Hopkins is so amazing in it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Good. Yay.
Okay. Movies you hate.
Nothing. I went through everything that showed up in IMDb. Mm-hmm. There's nothing in there I don't like. There's a lot I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But the difference is there's nothing on there. If you put a gun in my head, if you sat me down on the couch this afternoon and said, we're watching this or this or this or this,
yeah,
I'd be okay with any of those. I don't know any better. Okay. And there's nothing on there that I know I don't want to see. Okay.
So it's not that I hate it. I just have had no desire to watch it a second time, and it's Babel. I tried so hard because people were loving it that year, and I tried so hard to stick with it and like it, and maybe it was over my head. I don't know. I just did not enjoy it or get anything out of it that people were saying I should have. So.
It happens.
Yeah. Okay, Secretly Love.
World War Z.
You poop.
Why?
Because I watch it all the time, and you always, why are you watching it?
So here's the thing.
Now I can watch it every day.
No. Here's the thing. I don't like zombie stuff. There's 2 zombie movies that I can tolerate. This is one of them. And I like him in it. I don't like the zombie genre. But if you, again, sit me on a couch and say, you want to watch World War Z or Shaun of the Dead, I'll watch those.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. So I have World War Z on here. I do watch it if it's on, which is many times during the week. I will always watch it.
It is kind of your Shawshank, isn't it?
No. Because it's not, I want to say it's not a great movie. And the second one, they have postponed because they can't seem to get it right. Here's what I love about it. To me, again, I have no problem with zombies. These were scary ass because they're so freaking fast.
Well, these are 60-mile-an-hour zombies. I mean, come on.
But I love the mystery of the movie. And supposedly the book, which was written by Mel Brooks' son, supposedly the book is way more mysterious, and the trek that he goes on around the world trying to find Ground Zero. It is much more in depth and really good and all of that. Like, people really hated the movie who read the book because the book was so much better. But yeah, I love him in it. I love the mystery behind it. So I really, I dig it, and we'll watch it all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Then also Moneyball, we talked about. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we talked about. And I had a fourth one, Seven. I can't get enough of Seven. I can unfortunately watch it all the time. It's just good. Him and Morgan Freeman, hello.
That's your Secretly Love?
I couldn't. Did you want me to put 15 in the top category? Because all of these are in my love category.
Then put the 15 in the love.
No.
Why?
Because.
But it's no secret that you love these.
Is it ever? It's never. We should just change it. Okay.
We should.
Anything embarrassed you haven't seen?
2 things.
Okay.
Fight Club. Yes. I'm sufficiently embarrassed. Don't make me feel bad. Thelma and Louise.
Oh, yeah. So Thelma and Louise was the first time I ever saw him. First time most of us had ever seen him. He had been in some sitcoms, doing those guest spots. But man, Thelma and Louise, seeing that in the theaters, I still remember it. He came on screen. And first off, loved the movie so much. I became obsessed with it. But him being in there was just a bonus. It was so fantastic.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say.
You haven't seen Thelma.
I know. I was waiting.
Registered.
I was waiting for you for it to hit you.
Holy moly!
That's what a lot of people say. Is that not that, but they say Thelma and Louise is a really, really great movie, one of the best. And by the way, Brad Pitt's in it.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, young, skinny Brad Pitt. He is. He's super skinny because he's so young.
Sure. Okay. That's fine.
Okay. For me, I never saw Troy. I don't know that I'm embarrassed by that, but it was the only one on there that I haven't
I was going to say
so.
It's probably the only one on his list you haven't seen.
Okay. And add to your watch list?
I'm not sure how you're going to feel about this. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
You've never seen it?
No.
Wow.
Right? But it's him and Cate Blanchett.
Yeah.
So, how can you go wrong?
You can't. And Taraji P. Henson. Is it Taraji P. Henson who plays Queenie? Is it her? Oh gosh, I hope I didn't just get her confused with someone else.
Well, here we go. Even if it's not her, I still want to watch it. But if it is Taraji P. Henson,
it is. She's Queenie.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I have a thing for Taraji P. Henson.
You do, yeah.
Just in, I'm not going to hide it.
Yeah.
It's I just find her all the way around fantastic.
Yeah. My watch list is a movie that comes out later this year called Ad Astra, and he's an astronaut and he's going out into space to search for his father, who's Tommy Lee Jones. Looks very interesting.
Going out into space to search for his father.
It looks interesting. You got to watch the trailer.
How did that happen?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It's very
and his father's Tommy Lee Jones?
Yeah. Donald Sutherland's in it.
That's where he is. Because we were just talking about why haven't we seen right?
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones for a while.
Yeah, like he could be Brad Pitt's father.
Well, he's in space.
Yeah.
Turns out.
Anyway, I do have honorable mentions. Of course.
You do. The rest of the list.
Thelma and Louise. We talked about California, where he's the serial killer.
Yep,
fantastic.
Sure.
Interview with a Vampire. Fantastic classic. Yeah, you haven't seen it?
Haven't seen it.
My God. 12 Monkeys.
I've seen 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, he's so good in that.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Sleepers. Oh, come on.
I did not. So I thought about that one on my hate list, actually, which would not have been hate. It would have been just dislike. I've seen that. I've seen the movie twice. And the first time I saw it, I did not like it whatsoever.
Why?
And there's a lot of great people in it.
It's a great cast, but it's also a great premise.
I wasn't into it. I did not care for it.
Okay. The Devil's Own, him and Harrison Ford, fantastic.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
He's the Irishman. Brad Pitt plays an Irishman.
Okay.
7 Years in Tibet, really good movie.
Okay.
Snatch, hysterical, because Brad, you can't understand a word he says, which cracks me up. You can't. He did it on purpose. He took from Benicio del Toro in Usual Suspects, where he just mumbles and you can't.
Yeah.
So Brad was like, "I'm going to do that," but he does it like with an English accent. So he's just like, it's a Guy Ritchie movie, so it's a great movie, but he just cannot understand.
That's
what he's
funny.
saying.
That's. I almost want to watch that today just to see it.
Yeah, I can show you clips. The Mexican, Julia Roberts and him, and James Gandolfini.
Great. Yep, sure.
Benjamin Button was on here. Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
He's a small part in 12 Years a Slave. Mm-hmm. Fury.
Furry. Uh-huh.
Love that movie. It's really devastating, but great movie. I really enjoyed it.
I did not see that.
You didn't?
I don't think I saw that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's one.
Because that's one I always get, not always, but when I think about it, I get confused with Inglourious Bastards.
Oh.
Because I think they're both set in the war, right?
I feel like Fury might be... Was that Second World War or is it First? I don't know.
Well, whatever.
They're both wars, yeah.
Yeah, so every time when I think about it, I convince myself I've seen it, but I think that's because of Inglourious
I'm sure
Bastards.
You haven't seen Fury. If you can't picture the tank.
No.
Yeah, they're basically in a tank the whole time.
No.
Yeah, so good. So, yeah, Brad Pitt, he's got tons of them, and there's a lot in the works. I'm just so excited to see what else he does. And of course, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, really great.
Okay.
He's great in that. So,
okay.
That's it, you guys. Thanks so much for sticking with us this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's it.
Yeah. We'll try harder next week.
we will?
We will. Well, whenever the next time is, we'll try harder.
Meaning we didn't try hard this week.
Despite our best efforts, sometimes it's a little uneven. So
yeah. All right, you guys. Have a great week. Until then, I'll be watching my stories.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.